Good morning, traders. Today is Thursday, June 9th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Welcome, welcome. All right, well, what are we looking at here in the market? Well, the market remains in balance, okay? Let's actually just zoom out real quick and take a look at the daily. So we can see that we've been in, there's two sort of scenarios happening simultaneously here for the market. The first is that we are in a balancing area, which just means that the market is trading from one end to the other over and over again. And then the other thing is we've got this larger downtrend in the market here that seems to be, bearish. It seems to be holding the market down. So as of this morning, we are opening with a gap down. And that, in my mind, increases the odds that we need to test the lower end of this balance once again. So we'd be looking to do this and this again, where we would just dip below, and if we pull back in, we could try to head back up once again to the opposite end. If not, if we break lower, if we push below the balance, come back up and find resistance, of course, that is a short for a breakout of balance looking for excess to the downside. And as always, I don't think as I've said before, I don't think the market is going to be ready to break out to the upside until we find support on this downtrend. So the market's really got to push through there, come back, find support there before it'll probably be ready to break out to the upside. But we are in balance, so the market could just go sideways. It could go anywhere, really. But to my mind, with a gap down and the momentum that will create, the highest probability is we want to head back down towards 40.80, looking to test that balance area once again. So with the gap down on the ES, the first order of business will be a counter auction to the upside, looking to fill that gap, which would be to 41.0525. So the first thing the market will try to do is push up and fill that gap. If they fail to do so, if they cannot fully fill the gap and they start to get resistance, that is bearish for continuation to the downside. Or if they fill the gap to yesterday's low and then find resistance there, that is also bearish for continuation to the downside. However, if we start to trade back up into yesterday's range, we can look for support and continuation higher because we are in a balance area, right? The market is in this larger balance area, so it can really, turn around anywhere in here and start to head back up. But the highest probability is lower. NQ a little bit different than the ES, not quite as bearish. They have a smaller gap to the downside. Pretty similar scenario. If we get resistance around yesterday's lows, look for continuation to the downside to test 12.497. If we can pull up into yesterday's range, you got resistance right above. Pretty big node of resistance from both the regular trading hours yesterday and the overnight, between like 12,600 and 12,645. So I would look to get through that, come back down and find support before I get bullish on the NQ. Market is open. Looks like an instant gap fill in the Q. So on the ES, first order of business, filling the gap back up to 41.05. Can they do it? And if they do they find resistance there? All right, well, it feels a little early to instantly gap and go. But if we push below the overnight low, that would be bearish. There you go. So as of now, we have a gap and go. I do still think we need to try to fill the gap once more to give the counter auction a little bit of a chance. But it's certainly not bullish to start with that push lower. Okay, so one trade you could take as a gap fill trade would have been to go long as we pass back through the open with your stop below the low of the A period low here. You're either going to get the gap fill or you're not. Chris B says, newbie question. Welcome, Chris B. Happy to have you. How do you identify a gap down? Well, it's just if the market opens below the previous day's range. So by 4 p.m. yesterday, what was the low of the day at that point? If we are opening below it, then we have a gap down, and the target is to fill that gap. All right, well, we have a gap and go. Man. No counter auction whatsoever. All right, so I am bearish on the gap and go, looking to test the 4180 area down here. Remember, a balance area low isn't like support or resistance. The market doesn't necessarily have to stop right there. It's just a matter of, does it find support somewhere in this general area? If it can come down here and find support and head back up, that would be bullish. All right, well, we're getting that counter auction, but I'm going to remain bearish, assuming that we get resistance at the gap fill. And only if we start to trade back up into yesterday's range will I get neutral. Oh, man, Jesus. All right. Well, I am not in the flow of the market this morning, so we got a gap fill. Now we're looking for resistance. All right, so we're getting resistance at yesterday's low, and we have not been able to get those ticks back to the zero line. All right, sorry, bearish once again. Here we go. Doing the should we be bearish or should we be neutral dance. I'm still waiting for more of a counter auction because they couldn't get those ticks back to the zero line. But this is definitely new sellers beginning to pile on. So now once again, we're looking for resistance at yesterday's low or in this node we just created as resistance here around 4101. To remain bearish to test the bounce area low. John Lash says, unless it breaks one way or another, I feel like we're going to stay inside the balance area until the inflation numbers come out tomorrow. That's a fair assessment. I could easily see us doing a balanced day down here. So like head down, test this area, come back up and just rotate. Very doable. Novice trader, your audio has a little hiss in the background. Yeah, unfortunately, I've traded the birds for an air conditioner. So we've switched up from the beautiful sound of nature to the sound of a machine grinding away, creating cold air. All right, getting a bit of a liquidation here in the A period. That is obviously bearish. Remember, they can find support anywhere down here in the balance area low, right? Anywhere in this general vicinity, there's support. So a liquidation break, which brings in stronger hand buyers, could bring in a low today. Or a low for today. Lord Max says, what is the meaning of correcting the overnight inventory? Great question. Well, one thing that is very common in the markets is that if the overnight inventory is mostly one direction or another, we often correct it. So, for example, if we look back here a few days ago on the 6th, the overnight inventory was net short, meaning most of the people had gone short the market in the overnight. And we know that because they opened up here and closed down here. So to move the price of the market that much, they would have had to have been a majority of short inventory. So when we came into the day, the first order of business is absorbing that short inventory, which ended up giving us a new auction to the upside. We did it again today in kind of a strange way, but we had the gap and we just like instantly filled it. Normally, what would happen is we would keep pushing until we got this little green box right here up to the 0 line. And that's where we kind of know that counter auction is over. And it's either new buyers or new sellers stepping in. But it was funky today. It didn't make it back up there. Which is bearish. Cyrus, thank you for giving the more clear answer to the overnight inventory question rather than my literal answer. But yeah, it's just that the overnight traders got to take profits on their trades. So generally, if the market doesn't start moving with them right away, they take profits. So this morning, the market's moving with them, the gap and go. So there's still overnight inventory holding their shorts. But if we just started to trade back through, now remember most of that inventory would have gone short in here. If we just started to trade back through that this morning, we would have got a counter auction. All right, well, I don't think we're anywhere near hammering out a bottom yet, but it does feel like that's what the market wants to do here. The way we're building up this support with this taper, it feels like the market wants to hammer out a bottom. Perhaps in the B period. All right, I'm back to neutral. The momentum from the gap and go is over. So now I'm asking myself, is previous resistance going to become support? Remember that liquidation we got often brings in stronger hand buyers. So if this area around halfback can become support, we can look to test yesterday's range again. Got some volatility this morning. Gotta love it. All right, they're getting some support. Next question, can they get up into yesterday's range? Can they get above 41.05 once again? There it goes, man. This market is moving. Take no prisoners. Burn the ships. All right, so getting back into yesterday's range is a little bit bullish as a potential balance area play. Boom, boom. So now, again, we're keeping an eye on support. Every time we push higher, whoops, and pull back down, does that next node become support? As long as they keep doing it, it's bullish. And breaking through this area, Jesus Christ, we're testing it right now. This area that we're breaking through right now will give us a big short covering rally to the upside. Good God. Good God, my man. Jesus Christ. All right, well, testing that resistance, I would say support at this point is definitely buyable. And we're looking to stay inside yesterday's range. We don't want to dip back below. Or I would say at the very least, we don't want to go below half back at 41.01. Again, don't FOMO buy up here. Wait for the support. Wait for a pullback. Man, all these low volume nodes, these need backfilling. This is short covering that's happening right here, guys. We need to pull back down and bring in new buyers. Jeremy and Q. Yeah, bullish, man. You're in the middle of a balance area, so it could go either way. And you just pushed through all this resistance right here. So now this pop that we're getting is a short covering rally. Did we roll over contracts today? Is that why the volume's so low? So this up here is a short covering rally. So when they pull back down, if they can find support in this area between 12,641 and 12,611, you can look for continuation to the upside. All right, well, that seems to be the end of the short covering, so we should get a pullback now. Asterix, you've both overnight and regular trading hours profiles? Correct, yeah. The one with the purplish, the red and purple colors, that's today's regular trading hours. And then the light blue and the dark blue over here to the left, that's the overnight. Me likes to keep them separate. Don't like my peas touching my carrots. Tyler Durden, the 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles, and yesterday's VPOC is resistance. Correct. So you got the VPOC and the 20 moving average acting as resistance. Plus, we got those low volume nodes that need backfilling. Generally, we like to see at least 200 contracts within a range. So these levels with only 42 and 62 need backfilling. All right. Well, no pullback to backfill those low volume nodes is a when what should happens. Doesn't. That is a little bit bullish. All right, with the printing of the B period, we created a poor high. Poor highs often cause the market to push away from them, meaning going the opposite direction, but then they come back and repair them later. Repair meaning getting 2 letters above the previous TPO, so getting 2 Bs above the A period high. That would be a repair of the poor high. And until we get it, that high will act as a magnet, tugging on price. And we don't get fooled by the push away. We know this is just the market looking for support. What charting platform am I using? So the software you're seeing over here on the left is called Window Trader. It's just market profile software. You can get any market profile software, though. You don't have to use Window Trader. You don't need all the bells and whistles. Anything that shows you how much volume traded and how much time was spent at each price level, that's really all you need. And the one back here is Thinkorswim. Here we go. Little backfill. Little few extra little contracts. Still left one level. Needing backfilling there. All right, so everything's back filled there. So now we're looking for support to head back up and repair that poor high. Can they get it at 4107? All right, market getting a little tricky to read here. So the internals are all still bearish. Obviously, the advancers versus decliners looks pretty strong, but it still hasn't gotten above the zero line. And the ticks are still rejecting at the zero line. So that's a little bit bearish to see. So I would say if we break the half back at 4101, I would be looking for probably a rotational day with a potential to head lower. If the market wants to head back up towards the upper end of balance, it should find support here and make its way above the half back. Not looking good. Come on, buyers. Where you at? Where you at, buyers? Let's pump the ticks. Nope. Oh, man. There goes halfback. All right. Well, now what we are probably looking at here is a rotational day. What we're likely going to get is we'll push down somewhere around the opening price find support down here, and then just start to go sideways. Yeah, pretty much I got to see us to really get bearish for further downside continuation at this point. I got to see us break the low, because that was a liquidation break and it did feel like stronger hand buyers in there. So my guess is support up here and then we rotate. So I'm neutral, looking for support. They are moving the market this morning. Same thing with NQ. Push back below that half back. So same thing with the NQ, looking for support around the opening price for rotation back up. 12,570. B period almost completely engulfing A period. I think there's some indecision out there this morning. All right, well, heading back up and passing through the halfback once again, just a further sign that we got a market in rotation here. Got some uncertainty, some pocket picking taking place. I do still think that poor high is in play at some point today, but I imagine it's going to be a rotational way that we get back up there. So I will now be looking for resistance at 41.14. Chirp, how'd the move go? You in? I am in. The move was absolutely exhausting. You all told me I would regret the fourth floor walk-up decision. I do. I nearly died yesterday. But I'm in. Now I just got to unpack and decorate. Scooball says, but if it's the low of the balance area, some dancing can be normal. Absolutely. A whole day of grinding at a low would not be unusual. Scooball? Yeah, I did. I had a choice of an apartment with an elevator, one without, and I chose the one without. It's a nicer building. It's, I just have to walk, that's all. So for me, this is a tricky market to try to trade at this point. I think probably the safest way to trade it would be like rotation, where you're just kind of targeting the middle of the range. But with the poor high up there, I don't feel comfortable shorting up here. So pretty much the only trade would be buying support on another push lower. But other than that, I may just have to wait until we get a better signal here. Or take very quick scalp trades. Don't fall in love. Jeremy, so Charles, a one-time framing play could be dangerous. Well, the market's not one-time framing, but Yeah, there is no one time framing play right now. Let's say you bought support down here in the C period and then held it for the repair of the poor high. You could monitor for continuation higher, and then it would be a one time framing trade. But it wouldn't become one until you break that B period high. Right now, we're in the chop zone. Uncertainty, two-sided trade, picking of pockets. Jeremy, yeah, I mean, when it comes, yeah, absolutely. If you wanted to get into a long trade, in the C period, you could do that, looking for the market to start one time framing higher. But, like I said, don't fall in love with it, because it might just come up here and then rotate right back down. So I'd trail my stop at the very least. Overlord, are you trading with caution on a day like this when the futures are rolling over? Not because the futures are rolling over, but this amount of volatility and the sporadic, it's sort of the, not sporadic, erratic nature of it. It just kind of randomly keeps flipping and reversing, and that makes it so the only way you could know what support to buy or resistance to sell would be a guess. It would be a gamble. So that makes me cautious. All right, guys. Well, as we get ready to print the C period here, I'm getting ready to shift gears over to the private stream. If you are not a member of the brigade, you should consider joining. It only costs 10 bucks. The reason I kept the price point so low was that there would really be no risk whatsoever to people who are considering joining. So you can see there's a link in the description that says join the brigade. Click on that button. Sign up. It costs 10 bucks. You get access to my live streams all day, every day, as well as to the Discord. And if you don't like it, it only costs $10. So it's not like it's a huge loss. Less than a single tick on the ES. Surely, within a month's time, I will say one thing that can help you make a tick, therefore justifying the price. As far as what to expect here today, I feel good about the low. I'm not 100% certain. I'd say I'm like 75% certain that we have a good low here this morning. I just liked the way it created the low. We had a liquidation break. We then created good taper, pushed higher, built support, pushed higher, built support, pushed higher, built support. It felt like we were hammering out a bottom. So to me, this feels like a good low. And I do feel like we need to repair the poor high. There is a chance when we repair the poor high, we could get more buying to head up to the opposite end of balance. But until that, my assumption is rotation. And like I said before, I wouldn't really get bearish on this market unless we broke the low. Otherwise, I assume we're either going to go sideways or higher today. With that, I shall bid you all farewell. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow morning. Asterisks, there's a link in the description. If you look below the video, there's a little thing that says join the brigade. Click on that link. Cost you 10 bucks. Hang out with the cool kids. All right, later, skaters.